Welcome to the Team Broth channel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to check out Replay, our sponsor, in the description down below. Introduce yourself and tell us how you did at Croatian Nationals.
Hi, my name is Božo, and I won the Croatian National Championship with the Mermail Atlantean. The event had around 162 players. It was 8 rounds of Swiss. I finished third with the 7-1 score. It would have been 8-0, but I made a misplay in the game 1 into the Malice, and my morality dropped down there and just surrendered the game.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, but ended up winning, so I don't think it was a big deal. And we played top 16, obviously, and yeah, it was kind of great run. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. When was your loss?
In the last round of Swiss, into a Malice,
I
I
guess
think.
you're probably not too worried at that point because you know you're going to top. So I imagine it's not the end of the day. I imagine you weren't too fast.
Yeah, I mean that game I lost when my brain just stopped working because I won the die roll and was hit with double Fuvalos and wanted to keep playing from there. And after double Fuva, he Imperm Impulse Ghost Bell, or
Oh my jeez.
not in that order, but it was those hand traps. And I kept going, and the guy couldn't believe his eyes. Because yeah, I just kept playing, and I did the whole dance with the big fish and the small fish and everything. And when I had to, I made the synchro that pulls out the barrier statue, and I look at my extra deck and I see I banished Trishula face down and didn't add Minstrel, so he didn't have any banished cards, so I can return to make a statue.
Oh no.
And I
Oh
pass on literally nothing, like Abyss Giles and the Link Tree. And when I made that, I just knew I lose this because
yeah.
there's no recovery from that. Yeah.
But fair play, getting all the way to the last round because like this is Mermail is not an easy deck. It is a lot of thought process and it is a lot of just spinning the wheels really. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. That kind of brings me to the first question: why did you go Mermail?
So the story about Mermail is it's quite funny because that's the deck I've been playing this game since like 2021. I didn't play back in 2013 when this deck was first introduced, or
Classic.
2016 when we got Neptabis.
Yeah.
But my friend at the last Euros, after we broke down in the first day, we went back to the hotel and we were talking about some like crazy past Yu-Gi-Oh experiences, and he was like, back in 2016 there was like this cool deck Water. He would just dump cards for cost and hand loop and do stuff, and I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, which one, Mermail?
Yeah.
And
Mermail's crazy.
yeah, and going home back to Zagreb, in the bus I bought the entire deck off of Card Market uh, for like a couple of bucks. And yeah, for the since in the last year, that's the only deck I've played. That's the deck I have like a million hours on,
Yeah.
and I'm the most comfortable with it. Yeah, so that's why I chose Marmel for this event also.
It's kind of interesting because obviously it was last format. It was probably I would say it was the deck, and then kind of coming into this one, it's dropped off a little bit just because of the power spikes and stuff. But obviously, as you've said, it's probably your pet deck, the one you know the most. That's why you probably didn't pick up Ryziel and Malice, I presume.
Yeah, but you know what? I think Mermail, oddly enough, doesn't have any like silver bullets that you can just flip to kill the deck. You, when people say about, oh, just charmy them or just droll them, you have, if you're good with the deck, you have every like plan B for every card thrown at you, except
Yeah.
for like nip droll or pairing like two like custom hands. There, every board is breakable and
Yeah.
there's nothing to talk about that. But if you're good with the deck, and I think it has a very high ceiling and rewards playing good with it. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I didn't, in the top cut I lost every die roll. I was rolled like
Jeez.
80% of the time, and I was nibbed like 0 times because I just find like a good way to play around it, and I got charmed a million times and still won. So it's not impossible, just need some experience with the deck, and you'll be fine.
That's great. So that's funny enough, one of my other questions is, would you play heavy into the Charmies then? Would you take the challenge, so to speak?
Yeah, it was it. Funny enough, that's one of the stories I was thinking about because in the I think it was sixth round I was playing into Ryziel Finsmith,
Yeah.
and uh, the guy got a die roll. I double Peruli at him, and he passed back to me. I started with normal Neptabis. He Fuvalos me, and I obviously kept playing.
Yeah.
And then he Peruli at me also.
Jeez.
And I was just like playing. And when I got to Minstrel and look at the his hand and saw Ryziel's, my thought in the head was he is probably not playing Nib
Yeah.
because of the miss synergy there. So I was like, I don't know, let's just keep playing, and if he can break like Changing statue under Link 3, he's a god player. And he had 15 cards in his hands,
Jeez.
and he had to resolve the Charmies, so putting back cards because I passed on only 3 cards on board, Statue Changing and Link 3.
Yeah.
So he had like what 10 cards in hand and couldn't do anything under the board. So yeah, I take the challenge anytime because
Yeah.
I just have to feel confident you want me be, and it will be enough. Yeah.
That's wild. That's pretty. Yeah, fair enough. And then also speaking about Droll, from my experiences, when I tried Mermail for a wee bit, it was a struggle at times unless you added Sealer Camp straight off the bat off a Neptabis or something like that. How did you kind of combat Droll and stuff like that?
I came to an event prepared for Drolls in the main deck. That's
Yeah.
why I was maining the Silicon build. I think it's the only correct build for this format right now, just because of Droll. The logic was that's why I was playing the 3 tiers, and people are constantly talking about like tiers being bad and so, and like being Pike the worst normal summon. I disagree. Pike definitely is worst normal summon than Neptabis.
Yeah.
That's not even a discussion. But the deck revolves around resolving Abyss Shrine, the new level 3.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
And Pike gets her, and Tias gets her, and Prince gets her. So if
Yeah.
you can add her before getting drolled, you'll be fine, as long as your opponent doesn't have anything other than droll. And even because of impulse, because people are saying, well, yeah, well, you just get impulse on Abyss Shrine. Well, actually, no, because you can when you get rolled, you can eat the body of your field. So getting Silicon on board can be impulse because you control no cards. But
Oh
even if he
yes.
gets, yeah, and even if he gets impulsed the first time, you can revive it back with a new rank 7 and do it again because he's soft once per turn.
That's crazy. I didn't realize Silicon was soft once per turn. Oh wow.
Yeah, Silicon is soft once per turn, yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it comes up actually because people say like, "Oh, that never happens." It actually does.
Yeah. I can imagine. Like, there's so many times as well. Like, obviously, you got the Abyss Keeper down below as well for when you accidentally hard draw it. How many times did you hard draw Coelacanth?
A million times.
Yeah.
The people that know me actually know that drawing silicon is my superpower. If you're like, I don't know, save a life or draw silicon, I would probably be drawing silicon because it's so in my nature. I guess I can't run from it. That's the only reason I play Abyss Keeper.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hate the cards really, but you must play it.
Yeah, when I was messing around with it, because I'm for Irish Nationals, funny enough, I'm tempted between Mermail and then taking like some sort of Mitsurugi. And yeah, Abyss Keeper was one of the first cards in my deck because the amount of times that you draw Coelacanth. I played it at locals the other week, and of like the say 8 games I played in total, 5 games I drew Coelacanth.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it is.
It's
Yeah.
it's typical, isn't it? And then, funnily enough, kind of talking about that, you played 44 in the end, in which sometimes I would find this deck very bricky, so I imagine you must as well. What was the thought process and like the math behind going for 44 and not a clean 40?
Okay, so Mermail at 40 works if you're not playing Silicant, because when you're playing the big fish, you knowingly put, let's say, on air quote, bricks in your deck.
Yeah.
So you can play under draw and make statue combo live and so on. But if you're playing without Silicant, 40 is way to go for seeing the Charmies and the Neptabis, which are the 9 most important cards in your deck.
Yeah.
But for the Silicant build specifically, I was messing with 42 without these 2 spells in my deck.
Okay.
I was on Rihanna.
Yep.
Also, I had the regional 3 weeks ago before nationals where I came 3rd place, and
Nice.
it was a 43 card list, I think, and I wasn't playing Prosperity and 1-for-1, but after that, because I lost my semifinals because I charmed my opponent and he played into it. I had 7 cards in my hand, and the cards were like Dragoons, Arrows, Fuvalos, Statue, and some infantry or something like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't draw a playable card, so these 2 cards were mandatory for consistency purposes. Even though I hate them, you need to play them. Yeah, I think that gives too much not to play them.
Yeah. I can imagine there's nothing worse than when you drop a 1-for-1 and someone ashes you, though. I can imagine that can be a bit rough.
Yeah, but oddly enough, I think I haven't resolved 1-for-1 since I'm playing the deck. Really.
Oh, really?
It's like always there for like, oh, it's the 4th copy of Neptabis, but it always gets impulsed or ashed or something. So yeah, I don't know. I will not cut it because when I cut it, I miss Neptabis, but when I have it, I draw Neptabis. So it's like a paradoxical thing.
Every time, isn't it? It's the law, isn't it? How did
Yeah.
you find the consistency in general? How did, like, the 44, were you happy with the consistency?
Yeah, I was really happy with the consistency. I saw Charmies more than enough times when I was
Yeah.
going second, and one of the 3 Poseidras in the main deck. Those were my 9 big hitters when going
Yeah.
second in anything, and the Impulse Ash Nib obviously into certain matchups. But I wanted to see one of those 9 in every hand going second, and
Yeah.
it worked just like I wanted, so it was fine.
Yeah. I can imagine the math on that is pretty sound to at least see one, to be fair. And then, yeah, how was was it Neptune? No, it's Poseidra, isn't it? How was Poseidra? Because, yeah, it's a crazy cracked board breaker. But I remember going into a couple of Malice boards. It could kind of be rough sometimes when you activate Poseidra and then they activate the trap to bring one back, or they activate something to bring one back and banish 3 or whatnot. It can be a bit rough at times. Did you find that into Malice it was struggles sometimes, or did you find Poseidra pretty good?
I love the Poseidra. I talked about in my deck profile. I talked about why 3 Poseidra is the only, I think, way to go with this format specifically, because of how draw is integral to most people and boards. People tend to make a like smaller end board and protect it, quote unquote, with the draw when playing into Mermail, and drawing Poseidra gives so much advantage into that specifically, because the whole day I was playing just into the meta decks. I was playing into Blue Eyes, Memento, Finsmith, the White Forest, the Malice, the Mitsurugi, the Ryziel Mitsurugi, the Ogdoadic Mitsurugi, and all of those end boards really suffer from the Poseidra, because Malice end board, now people are making the Bomber Dragon, and going in with the logic, I can proc multiple times the Bomber, which hurts my deck because my deck doesn't like removal cards, and Bomber is definitely a good removal card.
Yeah.
But if they commit everything into Bomber, GWC, and the, I don't know, White Rabbit, the White Binder, one Poseidra cracks the whole board. You bounce GWC, the infantry, the Bomber, and you have 5 cards in hand to break the rest of the board. And you outed half a board with 1 card. It's just too good not to play a 3.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing when people would play like 1 or 2, and the reasoning was for searching it, but opening that card in your opening hand is actually, it's just crazy.
Yeah, because I don't want to, if I have to, I will waste my goons on Poseidra, even though I know I'm being drawled, but if I don't have to, I'd much rather search for a prince or a minstrel going second with the dragoons and then get rolled, because it's, I don't know, it's so much more important to break the board and know that your opponent won't, I don't know, nib you in any time or drop March Hare on you and Reborn have his graveyard and banishment onto the field and kill you straight up. So I don't know. I like drawing it. People are saying it's the problem when you're going first. It's like a lousy starter, but they are just playing less cards in the deck and trading it for, I don't know, Diva or Third Pike or something like that. And I don't know if it's worth it. If you're going first with Mermail and draw any semi-playable hand, you should win. It's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a crazy card. I think it makes the deck, in my opinion. That one card just makes it leaps and bounds better. And then kind of going over some of the other cards in your list. I've seen a lot of people play 3 Minstrel in recent times. What made you settle on 1?
3 Minstrel is a great concept because statue is your now most prevalent thing on the end board. But Minstrel hard opening it going second sucks, because if you're not having specifically Dragoons or Shadow Squad, it's a straight up neck card, so you don't accomplish anything. And if your opponent doesn't have any Nibiru and has, I don't know, 5 interruptions on a Malice board or 4 interruptions on a Mitsurugi board, you lose, because you lost 2 cards for nothing, literally nothing. And I don't like it. I like searching it, as I said in my deck profile. I don't like having it in my opening hand going second, but opening it going first is the best feeling ever. It's like playing 4 cold buys in a deck. It's broken.
I can imagine, because obviously you'd side into the deep sea going first, then I presume the other 2, and then the cold buy.
Yeah. It was that part of side pattern. It was the siding in the last game of a finals, because I was playing in some Malice. It was 1-1. We had 18 minutes on the timer. I went first, and he drawed me on the result. I started with Abyss Shrine Dragoons, summoning Big Fish, adding Prince. He drawed me. I cold bite, and I added the Minstrel with the second Goons of Prince. Look at his hand, and he had Impulse. I made Impulse go away. Mulling Glaciad. I ripped the only 2 monsters in the hand, and he was left with only TB11 in the hand.
That's
So
rough.
yeah, it was very, very, very neat. Cold Buy is broken, obviously, but the same would be if I drew Minstrel. Exactly the same.
Yeah. No, it's such a good card. And then, the cool kind of text. Obviously, Butterfly has now come into the format. And then you've got the Gluttonous. I don't even know how to say the rest of that name. Did you look at any other cool fish in your testing preparation? Because I know there was a while ago. It's probably not as good now because of all the banish effects. But there was a lot of Ghoti floating around a little while ago.
Yeah.
Anything like that?
That for the people that know me, shout out to all the guys that played while that were my opponents when I played the Ghoti variant. I was the biggest fan of Schiff of Ghoti in the Mermail. It was the Julius guy ideas. I saw it on his match on the Europeans or something like that. And it was such a cool concept to me when getting drawed, passing on Dragite and 2 Toads. It was crazy at the time. And I wanted so much to play it. And at the time, I remember my first top with Mermail with the old ban list. I was playing the Ghoti variant. And my go-to play against Malice was setting up the Virtue Stream, the Icarus trap, and making what's it called, White Aura Whale on my opponent's turn with the small whale and the Schiff, and regecking his whole board. It was so funny and so broken at the time. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Ghoti in the Mermail, but not right now because Shifter is dead, and I don't think it's good because rank 4s now suck because you don't have a Bahamut Shark. And I was thinking more about moving my resources into synchros 9s and 10s and like rank 7s more than rank 4s, except the Kragan, of course. So yeah, that's why I don't play Shiv, but I'm his most beloved player ever. I would play it like anytime.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think I gave it a test run for a week or two, like a while ago, and I remember thinking, funnily enough, watching the European match, I think it was as well, and I just remember going, that's kind of funny because like especially if you get shifted, you at least still have something, and I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then like what was your typical end board in the end then?
Well, I didn't really understand the question. Can you repeat it
So
one more time?
so as in
Sorry.
like say, I know end boards can vary a wee bit more now. So like if you were going first, give you a wee bit more context. Say what would like obviously you'd set up barrier statue, you set up the link 3. What were your other like main go tos? What were you?
Okay. So the thought process was there is no fixed end board. I'm people often ask me, Božo, what are you passing on? And I don't honestly know what to tell them because when I minstrel them, it's like minstreling and looking at the hand. It's not like just sniping out the Nibiru. It's also looking at the what are you playing because game one specifically, if you're going first and you I don't know, I see the Finsmith cards. I don't want to make cards like Dragite or Trishula or something like that or Crocodragon because that is the deck that likes being removed with the bodies and have a lot of ways to make Finsmith Requiem and then full Finsmith combo. I was more sustainable to making like Kragan plus Changing or Statue plus Changing more than just blind making Dragite and Statue and Crocodragon and passing. But if I see Mitsurugi cards, I was very fond of Dragite because I honestly can't still take apart people that are playing pure versus the Ryzel variant. And if they open only Mitsurugi cards, I'm not sure. Only if I see like Futsu or Trap in the main deck, I know it's pure. But if I only see Habakiri or Ameno Murakuma or something like that, I don't know what they could be with. And there's the card, it's a Magatama, I think, that is a pop in the main phase by tributing a card. So they have some combos. If they Imperm my Link 3 and then Magatama my statue, I'm cooked. So in those situations, I make Dragite with the statue and the infantry, for example, in the hand. That is the end board. But in most cases, against Malice specifically and Ryziel Mitsurugi, the end board was Link 3, statue, Changing, and Abyss Shrine in the graveyard with the Nept Abyss or infantry in the hand.
Yeah, kind of nice. I think the board is so versatile as well. It feels so layered, especially like as you were saying, like looking at what people playing, and if you have a gas hand and they have nothing, and you can really build such crazy crack boards and things like that. And then, how did you find Trish as well? Obviously, into a Malice format, Trishing something would be kind of rough out of Malice, but obviously, as you said, you would snipe first. But how come you lent into that one rather than any other kind of spots, like say a second an enemy or something like that?
So the Malice specifically is a tough matchup because they have so much layered interruptions and the Mermails doesn't usually cover good back row decks, and Malice is like hybrid version of, I want to say, its endboard is so layered you can't just break it with one Poseidra or one infantry or one piece of removal because the Omni Negate Link 5 for I don't know which one it is, but the stuff like you asked the second anemone, or I was playing the other synchro. It's called a Toxic Boxfish. Also, the Synchro 4 from the last set.
Oh yes, yeah.
Those are some. Yeah, I like it, but those are some tech choices that I'd had to cut because even though they are great, they are usually just cautious preventions for situations where I don't know you get unicorned in like some weird Kashtira Genesis
Yeah.
deck and they take out Anemone or the Poseidra from the extra deck. It sucks. It's not that good, but I couldn't make myself believe that I needed like 2 anemone or 2 Poseidra or something like that just for the mere situation where I get unicorned or it go into some crazy grind game, because this deck honestly can't really grind good. You have to kill them or they kill too. It's
Yeah.
just how the deck feels now.
Yeah, it kind of almost. Oh, I hate to compare it to Tempai, but it has a kind of similar vibe of you basically almost kill straight away, or you kill on like the crackback. So it is
Yeah.
interesting that way. And funnily enough, speaking about not being able to activate anything in the battle phase, how was anti magic arrows on the day?
The people in Croatia know me for this card since the 3 weeks ago at our last regional. It is it is single-handedly the most correct card I've read since I don't know, Mirror Jade in 2022, because because reading the card feels like you're dreaming. Like you open the card and read your opponent can't respond and he can do anything like for the rest of the turn, already broken. And it makes specifically my deck making just what he needs. And what I said, it's clearing the back row, especially into multiple omni negates, like the link in the Malice or trap in the Mitsurugi or random solemn judgments in every side deck. So that card is just correct. Shout out to my friend Sola if he'll be watching this video. I feel so bad for him because he's our 2-time national champion, and we were playing in the round 4 or 5. We're both XO, and uh, he lost game 1 because I won the die roll, and game 2 he was drooled and passed on 4 back row, and I draw for turn anti-magic
Oh
arrows.
no!
And
Oh,
I bounce his whole board into hand, make statue, make changing and everything. And when I won the game 2 because he couldn't do anything, he flips his hand, and it was 2 solemn judgments, the omni negate and the
oh
prayers.
my, that's crazy.
He couldn't do anything about it. He was so mad. But that's the card. I mean, it hurts because you don't have the battle phase and you gamble if they can or can't break the statue lock. But I'm so confident now after like hundreds of games. But if you set up statue under the link tree with one way to protect it, you're probably fine. Because in that game specifically, my friend, he opened with Gordian Slicer and he cleared my link tree, normal summoned Aramasa, added the spell I was talking about, Magatama, and went into battle phase. And he wanted to crash he wanted to destroy with the Aramasa and made a misplay because Changing was lowering the attack because he used extra deck for Gordian Slicer, and Magatama, or the Aramasa was like at 0 and statue was at 1000. And in the battle phase, I just changing his Aramasa from the field, and he couldn't do anything in the main phase too, so he lost. But for those situations, definitely Arrows is MVP. Also, in the top 16 match, I was playing against Raizel Mitsurugi, and my opponent passed on Detonator plus Ameno Murakumo, Cross, and the 4 back row. You just Arrows, you bait the cross with anything, and you just Poseidra his detonator away. You bounce the Murakumo so he doesn't remember it's summoned properly later on for the prayers and stuff, and you just win. It's so easy, and I love the card. I really love the card. I wouldn't cut it. I would probably cut the half my deck and move every water except Neptibus and 3 arrows. Like I could play with it.
Yeah, nah, that's crazy. Because I remember seeing Chris Urena's list, and he put up anti magic arrows, and I didn't watch the whole video, but I remember seeing that going, that's interesting. But yeah, no, it's stupid. It's then also, funny enough, a very similar card. We were talking a lot about Salesban. How was Salesban? Was that performing the same as the arrows?
Salesman, funny enough, was in my side deck for for a whole different reason, because as you can see, I cut Imperms in my deck and swapped them for the Nibirus. Even though conflicting with the impulses, I think Nibiru is much more needed than the Imperm, because Imperm feels so underwhelming in this format. anything you imperm makes like you went neg 1 for nothing. Even nowadays, if you imperm the dual drive, which was the go-to play for the last 6 months, it's wrong now. And I couldn't make myself play imperm anymore. So I was thinking a lot about what can I play to make problematic cards for me like Detonator or the Wave Hiking Caesar less problematic. And the Salesman was great because I wanted a going first and a going second card. Going first, obviously, like the card I think was meant to do, you just call Droll or Nib and you win. It's no doubt about that. It's 3 extra copies of Minstrel and Call By. But going second, the idea was if you charm me the Ryziels and they just make Detonator, or you charm me the Finsmith and they just pass on Caesar, you can always top deck Salesman or draw it with Charmies, the call whatever they make on the end board, and you practically won the game on the spot. Because if they don't have specifically draw Nib like I was talking about, they just lose. That's the reason behind the sales ban. For me, it was a bit. I didn't see it as much, but it won me. It won me a game in the top 8 against my friend Luka Florian. He was playing Ogdoadik Mitsurugi, and I draw some crappy hand with Tia's Shrine and Ash Blossom and some duplicates, and I had a sales ban, and in my head I was, if he draws me, I scoop. This hand doesn't play through draw. And I was like, draw? He was fine. He ashed my Tias, and when I summoned and resolved Big Fish, I knew he didn't have anything. And later on, I get to Neptabis and watch it his hand. I see the draw, and I was so happy.
Yeah. Yes.
Because it cooked me on the spot. So yeah, it was fine. It was arguably, I think, the least impactful card in my side deck, but I wouldn't change it. For this event, I think it was a good call.
So when it came up, it was very solid. It's just sadly you didn't see as much as you would want.
Yeah, that's exactly why. Because you see, I didn't play at as much Finsmith variants. I was so prepared for the Caesars all day and Desirees and all that. And I didn't see any because at my last regional, people were like playing Kashtira Finsmith, even Mitsurugi Finsmith, and everything Finsmith. So I felt whenever I charmed them, they would make half board I couldn't break. And that's the most frustrating thing about it, because anything in your hand triggers and you go neg 1, you go neg 2 for attempting Tears, you go neg 2 for attempting Poseidra, and you lose. And that's so annoying. So that's why sales ban is here, and I want to change it for this event specifically.
That's fair enough.
For sure, yeah.
And then you just spoke about as well about Nib. Why did you go for Nib? And well, you've spoken for why you didn't play Imperm, but why did you put Droll in the side and not main that instead in such a heavy Mitsurugi Ryziel adding format? What was the thought process in that?
As I said, my main goal going second is to draw Charmies, and drawing Waters with Charmies is the most broken thing in game right now, because I consider Mermail the only deck that can break boards with Engine, and if you have enough Engine in your hand, you can break almost any board, because you can go freely negging into their negates and removals and just spam bodies like there's no tomorrow. So drawing Droll off the Charmies is not the greatest, obviously, but the nib in my head was I tested a lot into my friend Marian Malice. He was the first guy I saw on pure Mitsurugi, and he is the guy that introduced me to the deck. He was playing it even after the first wave of support, and he always told me the stuff, hit this, hit that, make this, make that, and Imperm felt so bad. I asked him, like, what about Nib? And he was, if they are greedy, just hold the Nib until the end of main, you tribute everything, and they don't have anything except the Raigeki of prayers on your turn. But now the people that are integraling it to another strategies, like Ogdoadik and Ryziel, they have to be greedy with the Mitsurugi part, with the, I don't know, King of the Pharaoh Limps, and searching the trap, searching the another prayer, searching the follow-up. and they tribute everything so many times. It uses everything, all the reborn effects, even for Futsu, which is a bit problematic. So on the classic handboard with the pure, they pass on what? The negate one, the Masquerena, and 4 sets. If you nib them, they have like what? 1 interruptions plus maybe set imperms and judgments. And if you nib the Ryzel variant, they can't trigger X anymore because it's hard for them to out their own token. It's hard for them to do anything with it. So it felt good in my hand. And also, I was very afraid of decks I don't know that good, like White Forest. Honestly, I have a friend that makes that deck work for like past 6 months, and I read every single times. I read every single card multiple times. I still don't know what the deck does. It feels to me the deck changes every like 2 weeks when the new list drops. So I'm not sure what the deck does, and not sure how fast they get to the Deception and Ilya Sylvia and all those cards. So the Nib was the safest precaution for me to punish those heavy combo oriented decks, and Mermail also in the mirror. So it was no brainer for me over the Imperm anytime, any day.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And then getting towards the end of it, what were you happy with your matchups into like the meta decks you talked about? You said obviously you played a lot of Mitsu, a lot of Fiendsmith, and a lot of Ryzio. Were you happy with your matchup? Because obviously you said this deck can kind of dismantle any kind of end board, but were there any you struggled into? Or were you happy with all of them?
Honestly, I was very happy with the matchups because all of them were something I anticipated. There was none like, I'm just jokingly saying this, but there was no bee troopers or ice barriers
Yeah, I know
or
what you mean.
the deck I haven't played a single bit into, and I was familiar with almost anything I saw at the event. Like I am the guy that needs to write down his matchups because I can't remember anything if I don't write up. But for starters, like Blue Eyes in the first round was the only Blue Eyes I saw the whole event, and I was scared of Blue Eyes because if they pop off with the multiple spirits and the trap that pops my cards, I don't know if 2 or 3, but number of vanillas he shows. That's a tough end board to crack with Mermail, and uh, I don't know. He went first and got charmed and passed something like seals and the trap, and that was easy to break. But going second, he had multiple judgments and everything, and I didn't have the arrows, and I had to like improvise. And there was, like I said in my deck profile, it was such a funny situation because he had 3 unresolved back rows and I don't know, something like barrel summoned of seals for a follow-up. And I make Dragite for Spell Trap Negate. I use Dragite first effect to excavate, and I excavate 3 Nibirus of my 5 cards from the deck and bounce 3 cards from his board to his face. So in these situations, I think I got a bit lucky because of cards like that. But for the other hand, in like Memento, which was my second opponent in the round 2, Memento is the deck I'm kind of familiar with, but they also, as you know, they tend to combo a lot and use everything 2 or 3 times, and it's hard to keep up since my deck is also combo oriented. And we got into the time situation because he won the die roll, or I won the die roll. I don't really remember, but he won the die roll, and I took like half an hour breaking that board because I only had engine. He had multiple cards, and I normal summoned Barrier Statue going second, and he got green because Memento Fusion and the spell that summons from deck and everything just isn't live anymore. And the moment I summon the big fish, he flips Super Poly and makes Muddy Mud Dragon, and I was so mad.
Oh my
uh,
goodness, yeah, that would have been
because it's awkwardly a water, so
yeah.
he can make it.
That's typical.
And I lost that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny, and I was so mad, but in the end I won because game 2 lasted 15 seconds. I started with Minstrel. He showed me nothing. I showed him Neptabis and he scooped. And game 3, he had a couple of minutes at the clock, and I Charmy Impulse ashed him, and he still kept playing. I was so mad. And he had million monsters on the board and made Agave Dragon. And I don't know if he heals or burns, but he made the time do the time and made the 5k guy in defense and passed me with a minute on the clock. And he had one set. I started with Poseidra bouncing the set, Minstrel looking, it was Super Poly again. I ripped the Super Poly out of the hand, make Kragen, burn for 2,500, and break his whole board. And he was so mad because not many players are playing the Kragen in the main. They're signing it a lot, but not in the main deck. And I love it, not just because it burns, but he's also a floodgate and a great removal because not just because OTKing is so easy with him. Like you just break your opponent's the biggest body, burn it, and then just run them over with big guys. It's so easy.
Yeah. You know, one.
Yeah, and the rest.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And the rest of the day, it was just as I said, like Mitsu, Malice, the one White Forest guy. I feel sorry for him. The match lasted like 9 minutes because I won the die roll and he 2 times didn't have anything and got impulsed game 2 on LZ. So I don't know. It's most of the day it was just meta. Everything I tested and everything I prepared for. So it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I remember there was one time where it was a very interesting interaction because there's a lot of cards that have like secret effects in Mermail and Atlantean, and I remember having a really nice board. It was like they'd just gone to battle phase with, say, I think it was like Dragoons, and they had like infantry, normal summon infantry, and then went battle phase. And I remember being sat there, I was like, right, and it just gone to the time, we're both on 8k, and I never realised, but Dragoons allows, I think it's level 3 or lowers to attack directly that turn. Or something like that.
Yeah, that is correct, yeah.
It's so many sneaky ways to deal damage with this deck, it's actually crazy.
Yeah. There is also one guy that in the early days of this deck, when it got first support, a shout out to him. His name is Gage Cox. He regularly tops in Britain with the deck, and he's my favorite blind second Atlantean enjoyer on this planet because he's the guy that utilizes every single hidden effect on every card. He's the guy that instructed me that main decking the one that pops Spell Trap, Atlantean Marksman, is broken going second because he also has this hidden effect. When he deals battle damage, he special summons level 4 lower Sea Serpent from the deck. And we tested some of the variants blind seconding when the format just came here, and the lists he plays and the deck is the plays the deck is possible makes the deck possible going second. They're just crazy because just as like you said, infantry, another normal summon, the Dragoons, they're attacking directly. The Marksman summoning from the deck. And also, every other card here has something like that. And when it all adds up, it's so hard to play against if you're not really familiar with the deck.
Yeah, because it's even Minstrel's got an effect where it can, if it's special summon, you can send top 3 cards to the deck. Like, literally everything has a second effect. It's actually crazy.
Minstrel Minstrel effect to mill is my favorite thing that people are reading it about, because when you discard it, they're just, oh, this is the guy that watches my hand, broken, Konami, please ban this card. Then they show their hand, I banish Nibiru, and when I summon it back in mill 3 and accidentally mill Dragoons or something useful, they get so green because it sounds like a joke. Oh, mill 3, put one back. It's so huge. It is incredibly broken, especially for the times when there were a couple of times at the regional, not in this national, but at the regional 3 weeks ago, I constantly drew barrier statue and could not make a way to bring it back, like with a rank 7 or an Anemone or something like that. And making the Minstrel effect make it go back to the deck so I can summon it with Primadonna, it's huge. It's honestly something that you need. It's not just a random effect that pops off every now and then. I use it every single game.
It's crazy. So yeah, the deck is just so versatile. And then like
Yeah.
last question, anything overperform, anything underperform, and any changes you make to your list?
I think the deck for the list for this event, it's good. It's definitely the meta call, I would say, because the engine part is fine. I wouldn't change engine for anything, but the non-engine part, I think you for the Euro specifically coming up in like a month and a half or 2 months. The non-engine part is something that has to shift depending on the meta because it's so important to trade well in this deck because as you said, it's such a crazy combo deck that has to be like well piloted because the slightest mistake, slightest wrong add or slightest wrong discard can end you game on the spot if you're not thinking about what you're doing, if you're just activating a bunch of effects. So the non-engine part is actually much more important than people think. Like at the last regional, the Nibirus were in my side deck, and I almost didn't play them at all for the nationals. I was playing with a sales ban and some other cards like Imperms or some random non-engine, and I was getting cooked by every time because there is the stupid alien virus combo in the Mitsurugi and the Castell plus the Harpy Trap in the Ryziel variants. And getting constantly hit after you draw them and then they FTK you with something like that, it feels so bad. So it like cards like Nibiru and cards like Arrows or something like that are cards that are strictly meta calls. If meta changes to, I don't know, Orcust or some decks that don't set up as much back row or anything like that, Arrows might even not be the greatest cards ever. And that's something people tend to make mistakes because I was playing the same list, like I said, with the Shift and the Ghotis for a bit too much because I over enjoyed it. And I had a couple of tournaments where I went with the lists from like, I don't know, 3-4 months old results. And the engine part was fine, but negging with the wrong hand traps is what makes you lose with this deck at the end, not the engine part. So yeah, I wouldn't change a thing really. I miss the toxic boxfish. That's the card my friends are joking about when they are talking about Mermail. It's very funny. I love it because it has like 3 effects and all are relevant. So I don't know. For this time specifically, I wouldn't change a thing. Yeah.
That's fair enough. It's such a cool artwork on the card as well, isn't it?
What?
The toxic boxfish. It looks so cool.
Yeah. Toxic boxfish looks like a Minecraft card. It's like made in ChatGPT.
Yeah, straight up.
It looks real.
Yeah. And then lastly, any shout outs or anything you want to do?
Yeah, for sure. Shoutouts to Carta Magica, our local game shop that sponsored the whole event. Shoutouts to all the friends I tested with from my friend group and from Zagreb that came to play with me. Shoutouts to all the guys that went to our nationals. Thank you. Come again next year. Shoutouts to Filip Ljubicic for talking about this deck for whole night at the last year. If he didn't talk about it, I wouldn't be here. And yeah, shoutouts to you. Thanks. It was great time talking with you. It was nice. I hope it goes well. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Congrats once again for winning the nationals. It's no easy feat, put it that way. Really impressive. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you too for hosting. Yeah.
Hey guys, thank you for watching. See you in the next one.